It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
We're starting off our show welcoming aboard KTKN, AM 930 and FM 97.5, airing out of Ketchikan, Alaska, and reaching the recreational fishing fleet that is plying the waters of Southeast Alaska this morning. To air on a station where many of the residents not only fish for fun, but depend on fishing for a living is a real privilege. And we hope you'll enjoy what we have to offer you in the weeks, months, and years to come. Believe it or not, our little show, which launched just over a year ago, is now airing on 48 stations in 9 states. You can hear us up and down the West Coast from Anchorage to Santa Maria, in the Rocky Mountain states of Idaho and Wyoming, in the Sierra Nevadas of Nevada out of Reno, and don't forget our affiliates in the volunteer state of Tennessee. As we get things rolling this week, I've got a question for you. Did you hear the results of this year's Carhartt College Bassmaster Championship held last weekend in Lake Bemidji, Minnesota? You may have known the favorite team going in was from Bemidji State University, who were fishing their home water. However, the home team didn't come through. They were actually in second place after the first day, but they fell from there and ended up in 9th place. The winners, Jake Lee and Jacob Fouts, representing Bryan College in Dayton, Tennessee, hauled in over 49 pounds of bass during the 3-day tournament, beating out the second place Bethel University team. Third place went to Chico State University out of California, which just goes to prove you don't have to be from Minnesota to win a bass fishing championship there. We've got a great show for you this week with our Ketchikan affiliate in mind. We'll be visiting Salmon Falls Resort, located right outside of Ketchikan, to see how the fishing has been the last few weeks. And after that, we'll continue what's rapidly becoming a series about iconic fishing lures. This week, we're talking to John Eppinger. He's with Eppinger Manufacturing out of Michigan. They make the DarDevle spoon. You've seen it, that red and white spoon that catches just about any type of fish you can imagine. Hunting season's coming up, and that means it's time to scout for big game. One thing you'll want to have to help you with your scouting efforts is a trail cam. And Mark Kaiser from Sheridan, Wyoming, a very well-known outdoors writer and TV personality, will join us to give you some tips on how to make the most of them. We've got outdoors news for you, covering record fish from several states and a voluntary handgun recall from Sig Sauer after testing revealed it might go off when you don't want it to. In addition to this, we'll check in with Gary Graham again, that Baja fishing guru, about huge roosterfish that are being caught by anglers in the Sea of Cortez this summer. If we have some extra time, we'll throw in a Trail of Shame segment 2 from the state of Nevada. But before we tell you about people doing bad things in the Silver State, let's talk about anglers having some fun in the waters of Southeast Alaska. As we told you during the first portion of this broadcast, we are welcoming some new listeners on board in Ketchikan, Alaska, and with that fine town in mind, we thought we would take you to a fishing resort in that area. It's Salmon Falls Resort, and with us here to tell you about how the fishing's been and how things are shaping up for the rest of the season is Matt Ruwalt, the marina manager. Matt, welcome to America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
So, Matt, let's give the current fishing report. How have things been the last couple of weeks fishing in Southeast Alaska near Ketchikan?
The fishing has been outstanding for silver salmon. Most of our boats have been coming in with limits or near limits. We have 5 boats here that we send out at Salmon Falls, and they can each hold 4 people. So you do the math, and we got about 24 salmon coming in per boat and 5 boats out there. So we're filleting, upwards of 100 to 200 fish per day for our guys down there.
All right, so Matt, I'm horrible at math. I actually almost flunked math in school. What's the daily limit when it comes to silver salmon? What's the possession limit?
The day limit is 6 per person, and we also bring in a few pink salmon. We try not to target them, but as we're fishing for silvers, we'll oftentimes bring in some of those as well. The anglers, it's up to them whether or not they want to keep them. A lot of the guys like them for smoking, and they will keep them for that.
Personally, I think pink salmon tastes fine for the smoker. And folks, if you get them and you can grill them up fresh, they're just fine too. I want to talk about the impact of a closure that the state of Alaska has put for saltwater fishing in southeast Alaska. You can't fish for king salmon anymore, just low numbers. How is that impacting you guys there?
Honestly, it's not going to affect us a whole lot this late in the season with the silver salmon having arrived already. Now, if something like this would have happened back in May or June, it definitely would have affected our business heavily. The silver salmon start arriving, late June, early July, and they're really our bread and butter here. We do get some kings in June, and we got some really nice fish this year, up to 40 pounds, but the numbers just weren't there. So once July hit, we started getting these silvers coming in, still catch the occasional king, but it really isn't going to affect us a whole lot.
Getting back to the silvers, what's the biggest one you've seen so far this year, and what's the average size this time of year?
Oh, average size is 8 to 10 pounds. We definitely get some fish up to 16 pounds and even a bit more.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Throw in some pinks for good measure. And we ought to mention that salmon's not the only thing your anglers are fishing for, is it?
That is correct. We also target halibut. We've been bringing in some really nice fish here lately, 35 to 40 pounders. We also get a few fish that are in that slot limit that we have to release, make for a good photo opportunity and some happy guests, but definitely some disappointment when they see it get sent back down.
Now, what about yellow eye rockfish, also referred to as red snapper? Very tasty. Is that an option too?
Yes, they are one of our favorites. Our guests love catching them because they're so beautiful. We have several good spots where we can target them. We also pick them up incidentally to halibut. We've also got a couple of good spots where we've been catching some trophy-sized silver gray rockfish, which aren't quite as pretty, but they're every bit as good at eating and a lot of fun to catch. And
the lingcod, how about that?
Lingcod, we get the occasional one incidental to the rockfish. We brought in a few that have been almost the 45-inch. You can't keep them over 45 inches, and we've caught some that have been about 44, and so they're just a really nice, solid fish. They're a lot of fun to catch and make for a good photo opportunity.
All right, well, we've got about 30 seconds for you to give the elevator speech about Salmon Falls Resort near Ketchikan. Folks, this is an all-inclusive lodge. You can go out for guided fishing or self-guided fishing, your choice. You take it from there, Matt.
Yeah, so we're a 52-room full-service resort. We have a full-service restaurant and bar. And we also just bought 10 new skiffs. They're 18-footers with a 40-horsepower Honda and steering wheels and rod holders and seats. We're getting them all outfitted for those that want to do a self-guided trip.
Matt, we're coming up on the end of the season. How long is the season going to run there at Salmon Falls Resort, and do you have any openings left?
Yes, so we are open until September 20th, and we have a lot of openings available for both fully guided and self-guided anglers.
All right, folks. Well, there you go. It's not too late to book an Alaska fishing trip for this summer, and you can also book for next year. The website to go to, ladies and gentlemen, is salmonfallsresort.com. That's salmonfallsresort.com. Book your salmon trip and bottom fishing trip, too, out of Ketchikan, Alaska. Again, salmonfallsresort.com. Matt, thanks for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
It was my pleasure.
Are you ready for your best of the West affordable summer vacation? Hello, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Many of the big hotel chains will have hidden extra fees for things like parking, internet, so-called resort fees, and lots more. The list is as long as it is sneaky. But at Shiloh Inns and Suites Hotels, there are no hidden fees. Shiloh amenities are all free. like Shiloh's spacious pools and spas, steam and sauna rooms, fully equipped fitness centers, and even the kids stay free. And don't forget that Shiloh Inns also provide a free continental or full hot delicious breakfast at most Shiloh Inns. Now that's affordable excellence. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohinns.com. Smoke-free and dog-friendly Shiloh Inns. American family-owned and proud of it.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Kruse through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Ducks Unlimited is the leading waterfowl and wetlands conservation organization in the world. Here in Idaho, we've lost nearly 76% of our wetlands. Ducks Unlimited is working to stop that loss. In Idaho alone, DU has restored and conserved over 27,000 acres of wetlands. Learn more about the benefits of wetlands and what Ducks Unlimited is doing for Idaho's future. Visit ducks.org/Idaho.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Shiloh Inn & Suites. They've got hotels all over the western U.S., and their tagline is affordable excellence. They also take care of veterans. Special rates just for those of you who have served. Find out more at shilohinns.com. It being summer, a lot of us are out on the water fishing, and we thought we would talk to John Cleveland today. He is with Eppinger Manufacturing. They're based out of Dearborn, Michigan, and they make the world-famous and iconic DarDevle spoon. John, great to have you on the show today.
Good morning, John. Happy to be here.
You know, the DarDevle, I got to tell you a story. My dad, God bless his soul, he passed away earlier this year. He told me that his first steelhead he ever caught was south of Seattle back around 1959, and he was using a DarDevle spoon. I think it was on the Nisqually River, an old red and white, the iconic DarDevle, to get his first steelhead. These lures have been catching fish for how long now? How long has the DarDevle been around?
The company has been around since 1906 in Detroit. Lou Eppinger founded it, so we've got quite a long history here. We're no longer a fad.
I would say not. So tell me more about the DarDevle spoon. Was it basically the lure that launched Eppinger?
It definitely was. It was the lure that launched the spoon business. Lou Eppinger back in 1906 actually had a full-service sporting goods store in downtown Detroit, which was not unlike maybe a Cabela's or Bass Pro of the day. If you were taking a trip to Canada or a hunting trip out west and you lived in southern Michigan, you would go to Lou Eppinger's store and get, all your equipment, your guns, your ammunition, your clothing, etc., and outfit yourself. And Lou, he was kind of a tinker, and he wanted to improve the fishing lures and whatnot of the day that would fit the bait casters, which didn't have any brakes or decent gear ratios on them. You needed a pretty heavy lure to cast, and yet you didn't want it to be an anchor. You needed to have some action. So he started playing around, pounding out what became the Osprey spoon in 1906, and kept perfecting it. And then about 1918, he renamed it the DarDevle, which became the iconic red and white spoon of the day that has carried this company for 111 years now.
Wow. So question for you about the DarDevle. What species of fish did he have in mind when he designed it? Was he a trout angler? Is that what most of his customers were after?
Actually, he was fishing mainly for pike and walleye at the time, but they have definitely become probably the number one iconic lure for fishing for trophy lake trout up in the Northwest Territories and the Arctic as well. In fact, the world record was caught on a DarDevle husky.
Well, and if you head up, like you said, to the Northwest Territories or a lot of parts of Canada, and you're casting for pike, the number one lure to throw at them is a 5 of diamonds DarDevle. That works like a champ. You know, the spoon, the thing I love about it is that it does have that weight, so you can cast a long ways. And in a lot of situations, as a shorebound angler or, when I'm wading, that's really important to me, fishing rivers and lakes. But it's got great action, and there's been a lot of spoons that have come along since then, but none seem to have that action that the DarDevle does. It's something really special.
That's definitely a key, John, and one of the reasons is the center of the spoon is just a little bit thinner than the outer edge. And, again, we've had a long time to perfect that, and I got to tell you, it was probably perfected probably 80 years ago, and I don't think we've changed anything since. But the key is that action actually triggers strikes, and I would say almost regardless of color, the actual action of the spoon is what will trigger a fish to hit it.
Oh, absolutely. So next question for you, the spelling of DarDevle. Now, when I was a kid, I just assumed, dare, D-A-R-E, devil, spelled commonly. But, when I picked up a package, it's like, no, I'm spelling this all wrong. If you look at it, it's more like, if you don't know how to pronounce anything, like me half the time, it's DarDevle, What's up with that?
And I get that sometimes when I'm working the sport shows, and guys will come up and pronounce it like that. But what happened, basically, right around 1918, is there was I guess a little bit of pushback from some of the some religious groups, and Lou was sensitive to that, and he changed the spelling because of that pressure.
That's interesting, John. But he must have pushed back a little himself, because when you look at that lure, there's a picture of a little devil on that lure, so he wasn't completely cowed by the religious establishment, was he?
There was some compromise there, right?
I guess so.
The spelling, but kept at least what we consider, who knows what the devil really looks like, right? But that certainly has become the iconic image for us.
Well, the DarDevle, pun intended, is certainly a devil of a fishing lure. It catches fish. I was using it down in Baja, folks, and actually trolled up some trigger fish of all things. I've caught steelhead and salmon out of the Deschutes River with the DarDevle. It is a great lure. Speaking of fish caught with the DarDevle, do you have any claims to fame in terms of any, state record, lake record, even world record fish caught with the DarDevle spoon?
Well, certainly the world record lake trout was caught on a DarDevle. Me personally, I caught a world record Arctic char up in on the Tree River with a DarDevle.
Really? John, you're a modest man. You have never, ever told me this before.
That's something that, I don't brag about, but I don't hide it either. But thank you.
Well, tell me more about that fish. I've got to hear this fish story, especially if it's a world record fish.
Well, it's actually right behind me, a replica, and it's a beauty. The Tree River itself is probably the number one place to fish for trophy Arctic char. The gene pool there, it just is full of virtually all the world records have come out of the Tree River. And I was up there for actually just 24 hours. I flew up to fish for a day, overnight, and I was fishing with a DarDevle, what we call a rocket devil, which is a double thick DarDevle that gets down in the current. And I made a couple of casts, and all of a sudden that lure stopped, and about 50 yards out, this gigantic 3-foot-long orange char leaped out of the water, and I had a great time with him for about 10 minutes. And we did all the measuring and whatnot, and photos, and we slipped her back in the water, let her go. Super exciting.
Oh, absolutely. What is the closest piece of civilization to where you were fishing?
This was actually in the Arctic, north of the Northwest Territories. So there was an Inuit village about 95 miles from where we were.
That, John, qualifies as the fish story of the day, far and away. Last but not least, let's steer folks to your website, so they can find out more, not just about the DarDevle, but you make a whole bunch of other lures, too, that we need to let folks know about.
Well, our website is actually eppinger.net. That's EPPINGER.net. And we are in the process of revamping it, and in the next 30 days, we should have a brand new site up.
Nice. Eppinger.net. That's Eppinger.net. That is where you're going to find out more information about the DarDevle spoon, including where to find it. And folks, you're going to find it just about everywhere. It's been around for over 100 years, and it is in sporting goods stores all over the world because of the fact it catches fish. It's the DarDevle spoon. John, thanks for taking the time to tell us about it on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter and has the quality gear you need for hunting, fishing, camping, and more. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff will help you find the right product so you get the most out of your time in the field or on the water. In addition to stocking superior clothing and outdoor equipment, we offer in-store events and seminars so you can enjoy a successful adventure. With over 70 stores located in the United States, it's easy to find a Sportsman's Warehouse store near you. Find out more at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip for an incredible fishing adventure.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse, and it's time to talk about trail cameras. Why? Because it's just about hunting season, and we've got a real expert here to tell you all about how to successfully use these devices to help you bag a big game animal this fall. His name is Mark Kaiser. He hails from Sheridan, Wyoming. Well-known outdoors writer, TV personality. Mark, great to have you back on the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be talking with Jay, and it's preseason, so it's a perfect time to be talking about trail cameras.
Well, and I know you are literally getting ready to head up into the hills and do some scouting for elk. Why is this the perfect time to set up trail cameras, and what species are people setting them up for in August?
You know, nowadays people are so trail camera crazy. They use them not only in August, but they use them year-round, and they use them for every species. I've used them from everything from coyotes to black bears on the predator end of things, and then, of course, to the ungulates, elk, mule deer, whitetails, and pronghorn, and I've even used them for turkey scouting. But in August, if you're a bow hunter or one of those early-season muzzleloader hunters, it is the perfect way to get a focus on where these animals are moving. Because in the early fall or late summer, as it is right now, these animals are on a real patternable schedule. It's not like later when the rut kind of mixes things up. They go to water, they go to food, they're in bachelor groups, and they just do things like the normal American does. They go to work every day, same highway, same lunch spot, go home at night, and that's what these critters are doing right now.
Well, you just answered my next question for me. I was going to ask, where do you set them up? And you kind of got into that a little bit, but I'll ask you for a little bit more detail. Obviously, you're going to set them up where they're actually working, but for somebody who's just really not sure, they're looking at a meadow, they're looking at a hillside, what are some suggestions on where to look for tracks so you know where to set up these trail cameras?
Well, we've been just throwing it out there, like I said, you said, food, water, sanctuary. That's where they're going to be focusing right now. And these animals are feeding heavily, whether it's elk, pronghorn or deer, because they know the buffet is going to close soon, and they've got a lot of months of eating off of themselves ahead. They've got to have a lot of stored fat so they can get through not only the rut but into the winter. So food is a good thing, and if you're in an area, an agricultural area where you can focus on alfalfa fields, soybeans for whitetail hunters are big right now, your food plots. In the mountains, you're going to want to be looking more for big, lush meadows, but these elk will drop elevation and go to hay fields as well. And antelope, they can be a little tricky, but they love a good hay field right now, especially one that's caught a late summer rain and got some regrowth after they hayed. So those are some specific spots on at least food. On water, elk right now, that is critical. Elk are big animals. They travel in herds, and the bulls will be joining these herds shortly. They're going to need a lot of water, and bulls will go to these same water sources and wallow. So I set up on water a lot for elk, and I do set up on some meadows for elk, but more of my trail camera stuff's on water. And for pronghorn, water right now, because the water hole setup is ideal. And a lot of the country, a lot of antelope country is dry right now, even though we had a wet spring and winter. The spigot's been shut off. The Northwest, you know that, over in that country's dry all the way into Montana and Wyoming where I live. It's not exactly just dripping with water. So the antelope, if you can find a good spot, consistent water source where they're hitting, watch it with a trail camera and you'll have good success there.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Mark Kaiser, well-known outdoors writer and TV personality, about trail cameras. And Mark, another question for you. I think a lot of folks just go out there with one trail camera and try to set it up in a particular spot, but you recommend having more than one trail camera. Why is that, and how do you set those cameras up?
You definitely want to have more than one trail camera. Not only because you're going to capture more of the pattern of what's going on for the species you're targeting, but what about all the other species? If you're like me, you're wanting to hunt everything. So I've got trail cameras set up on deer, pronghorn, and elk right now, watching. While I'm sitting here talking to you, I got eyes out there scouting. And another great thing about the technology today is the fact that you can get those images sent right to your cellular phone, your smartphone, and you can check them out on the go if the area has cellular service. And as you and I know, that cellular service is just spreading like wildfire. So a lot of areas do have that service now. One of my buddies in Kansas, he sends me images all the time where we whitetail hunt there, and they're coming right off of his smartphone. They come straight to his smartphone. If he sees a big buck, he forwards it on to me. I don't even have to go to Kansas in the summertime. I know instantaneously, hey, there's a big buck on this area, and it's a place that I know, even though I haven't scouted it on site yet. And one last thing on setting up trail cameras is you do have to be a little savvy and sneaky. Not on all animals. It seems like pronghorn kind of ignore them. Mule deer, to another sense, they'll ignore trail cameras, but elk are snoopy. Every trail camera, every one I put up, elk bump and have their nose in it. They know exactly where it's at, and whitetails are the same way. So I try to set them up a little further off trail, a little higher, pointing down, and maybe if the trail is one where they're coming in, I photograph them going away instead of having them walk right into the camera. So you need to be a little bit stealthy, a little bit sneaky when you're setting up your trail cameras.
This is some great advice, Mark. One last thing, any particular brands of trail cameras that you would recommend for hunters out there getting ready for this fall?
Well, I got to be honest. I use a lot of Cabela's Outfitter series of trail cameras, but I work with Cabela's, so you can really just about pick any of the top brands and be satisfied. I've worked with Cuddyback, Moultries, and Bushnell's, all three of them. In fact, one of my best one yet is an old Bushnell trophy cam that I've got a bear box for that I can leave it up. And the bears, they beat it around. The elk are always trying to nudge it, but it's just a workhorse. I've had that camera for 4, 5, 6 years. So if you go to Cabela's.com, look at the reviews, people are pretty honest about what's going on with these trail cameras. And as I said, most of those top brands, they've got the kinks worked out.
Before we go, what's going on in the world of Mark Kaiser in terms of where you're appearing in print or on TV in August and September?
Always go to markkaiser.com and get on my Facebook or Twitter account because I do my appearances and stuff there. But right now, if you're bored out of your mind and want to watch me on TV, go to the Pursuit Network, Deer and Deer Hunting, Saturday Night Deer Camp. It's a great place to catch up on some good deer hunting information. Deeranddeerhunting.com also streams their shows immediately. So if you don't have the Pursuit Network, you can still watch them online. And I continuously put updates and hunting tips on my Facebook and Twitter account. So if you're just sitting there like, what is that crazy Mark Kaiser doing? You can go and check it out and you can see that. Well, like today, as soon as I hang up the phone here, I'm headed up the mountain. I'm going to hang a tree stand for elk over a wallow where I've killed bulls before and set up a trail camera as well so I can monitor that area back and forth between a couple of the states that I'm hunting this year for elk.
All right. Again, if you want to find out more about that, I'm using your words here, that crazy Mark Kaiser, go to his website. It's Mark Kaiser. Kaiser is spelled Kayser. That's markkaiser.com. Catch up on what's going on and get an education, too, about becoming a better hunter. Mark, thanks for doing just that for our listeners today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
In the heart of the North Cascades Mountains of Washington State at the head of Lake Chelan lies a small community called Stehekin. Stehekin is a special place and not accessed by road. Part of the adventure is getting here by boat, helicopter, airplane, or by trail. Stehekin Valley Ranch, with delicious food, comfortable cabins, and a magnificent setting, is your place to stay while enjoying hiking, fishing, horseback riding, kayaking, bicycling, or just plain relaxing. StehekinValleyRanch.com, where your next adventure awaits.
Come experience the wonder of Oregon's seventh wonder, the Wallowas. Located in the heart of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County, you'll find yourself anticipating the thrill of experiencing and exploring this rugged country. Join up with some of Oregon's premier guide services and ride into the Eagle Cap Wilderness, or float the Wallowa, Grand Ronde, or Wild Snake River. Bring the family and experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, and you'll wonder why you haven't been here before. Your experience begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
The Sling Blade is Max Lure Company's latest dodger for you to use. Lance Burrs is with us from Max Lure Company to tell you more about it. Why are you so excited about the Sling Blade?
Versatility, John. You can bend the Sling Blade and change it from a reactionary bite to a normal bite, and it's got so many possibilities.
Not only that, it comes in different sizes. You can use the Sling Blade for everything from trout and kokanee all the way to ocean-going salmon. It's the Sling Blade. Look for it at maxlure.com.
Want to earn a serious reward? You can, and all you need is a fishing rod. There's money to be made catching northern pike minnow. We'll pay you cash to catch them. Pike minnow eat our salmon and steelhead, and that's no good. The season starts May 1st, runs through September, and the more fish you catch, the more you earn. How much money can you make from this program? Well, last year, one angler earned a cool $100,000. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org. Go ahead, collect your reward.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Kruse through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi. I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, before I left my campsite, I was putting out my fire, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear showed up and hugged me?
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. He likes it when people correctly put out their campfires. He's pretty big on wildfire prevention. He's just letting you know you did good. With a hug. He's a hugger.
I just got a bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update!
All right, I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got some outdoors news to share with you, and we'll start with an important firearms recall affecting up to 500,000 Sig Sauer handguns. From Outdoor Life and other media sources, we share Sig Sauer has issued a voluntary recall for the P320 handgun. It's the civilian version of the Army's M17. About 500,000 Sig P320s have been sold since they were introduced in the U.S. The defect was discovered by the online blog Omaha Outdoors, which performed a series of drop tests on certain P320s and discovered the automatic handguns would consistently fire if dropped from certain heights and at a certain angle. Omaha Outdoors noted that its test exceeded standard drop test parameters used by the industry and the government. With that in mind, if you own a SIG P320 and want to find out more about this voluntary recall, go to sigsauer.com. There's a bunch of record fish that have been caught or certified lately. We'll start off in Delaware, where a new state record catfish is in the books. That's the word from the Outdoor Daily News. The blue catfish, weighing just over 36 pounds, was caught June 29th by Jordan Shelton. Jordan caught the fish in the upper Nanticoke River near Seaford on 12-pound test line, using a chunk of Atlantic menhaden for bait. The catfish took that bait about 9:30 p.m., and Chilton landed the fish about half an hour later. By the way, the last record catfish was also caught out of the Nanticoke, a 25-pounder caught in April. Sounds like this river is a good place to wet a line if you've got a state record catfish on your mind. A tooth-year record was caught in Washington recently, and it wasn't even caught by an Evergreen State angler. Zachary Jackson, who hails from Show Low, Arizona, caught a 23.5-pound, 55-plus-inch blue shark on July 30th while fishing for albacore tuna off of Westport, Washington. The hot bait? Anchovies. This was the first blue shark submitted for a state record in Washington, and I'm pretty sure this record will be broken sooner than later because blue sharks get a lot bigger than 4.5 feet long. And in Idaho, congratulations are in order to Matt Gamble of St. Mary's, home of our affiliate KOFE AM 1240, for landing and releasing a 21-inch smallmouth bass out of Coeur d'Alene Lake on August 5th. Matt's fish, which weighed an estimated 5.5 to 6 pounds, had the half-inch needed to break the previous catch and release record, which is determined by length in the state of Idaho. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We are heading back to Baja, Mexico, and that's because we want to talk to Gary Graham. Gary, as you may remember, is the outdoors writer that covers the fishing scene down here like nobody else does, and something very strange has been going on, and it involves roosterfish. Gary, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So, Gary, I understand some huge roosterfish have been caught this summer off the East Cape of the Baja Peninsula.
Actually, the entire peninsula below La Paz all the way to the Cape Cabo, and they're huge. I mean, we're not talking just big, being 15 to 30 pounds. We're talking over 50 pounds, and I've seen more fish over 50 this year than I've ever seen. I've been coming here since 1969.
So, Gary, you showed me a picture of one that looks like it's got to be over 75 pounds. I'd never seen a roosterfish that big.
I think it's over 100, but we'll never know because they let it go, thank God. But the world record is 114, and that fish was caught back in the early 60s, to give you some idea of how few and far between these fish are. Why they're around, I don't know. It's interesting because there's very little bait, there's very little of the sardina, and there are very few little fish. That's what is a little disturbing in this whole thing. We're not seeing the smaller roosterfish this year that we normally see. Everything's big, and all of the old timers, me included, we get together and talk about it, and we all our eyes are popping because none of us have ever seen this kind of rooster fishing, and they're biting everything. They're biting big baits like ladyfish. They're biting halco poppers. They're biting flies. They're biting whatever's thrown in front of them. I mean, it's extraordinary. If you have on your bucket list a big rooster fish you want to catch, get here quick.
So when it comes to rooster fish, good-looking fish, known for really fast, powerful runs, they're an inshore fish. Where would you suggest people go for a chance to hook up if they've never done it before? Obviously, they're going to be going out with a charter, but where are some charter-friendly places where you can get into a rooster fish?
La Paz, East Cape, which is Los Barriles, or San Jose del Cabo and Cabo San Lucas. Those are the main, that whole coastline from La Paz on down to the tip and around the corner up into the Pacific, about 5 miles, is where most of the big rooster fish are hanging out.
Another question for you here. When it comes to fisheries, most people look at different age classes to judge the health of a fish, whether it be salmon, whether it be warm water species. And I'm hearing a hint of concern here, maybe a lot more than a hint, because we've got these monster gargantuan rooster fish that nobody's seen before. But if I'm hearing you right, we're not seeing the smaller age groups.
You're right, and none of us can figure out why, except that, well, it goes back to the sardina problem, that there are very few sardina over with this El Nino, whatever you want to call it, that's been going on the last few years. Everything is back to normal. That's the one thing in Baja right now. One of the captains that's a very good friend of mine said, this is the first year in several that I don't lay awake nights worrying about where I'm going to go fish. Now I sleep like a baby because I know there are fish out there and I'm going to catch them.
One other thing I want to talk about when it comes to rooster fish, they are an inshore fish, and I know that in places like Rancho Leonero, you can be successful catching them right off the beach. How does that drill work?
Oh, I started that.
There you go, folks. Who knew?
I own Baja Fly, which is a fly fishing company, which we started 25 years ago, and it was specifically to fish the beach for rooster fish. And I think if anybody that fly fishes has probably seen the movie Running Down the Man, and that came from what we had done before that, and that ultimately evolved into that particular movie. So we been there, done that, but you can catch them on any kind of tackle you want from the beach. The thing that makes it really exciting is that you're sight casting to them most of the time. It's not blind casting, and I tell my fly fishing people that come that where you're fishing in the Sea of Cortez, it's kind of like you're fishing in a river, you just can't see the other bank, because there's no wind in the Sea of Cortez that you have to deal with. So you don't have, other than wind waves maybe in the afternoon, but no surf at all.
Last question. How long this summer do you expect this opportunity for these big rooster fish to hold up? What's generally the end of the season?
Well, that's really hard to predict since it started April 15th, which was at least a month early, and it continues now. I've had, within the last 3 days, seen several fish over 50 pounds. So who knows? I have no way of predicting that other than I can tell you it's going on now, and there are enough reports out there, including my own, that you can figure out whether it's still happening for as long as it happens. But it's still going on.
Well, there you go, folks. Right now, it's a time to come down to Baja, Mexico, and go fishing for the rooster fish of a lifetime. If you want to keep up with Gary's reports, he writes for all sorts of different online and print publications. Why don't you run through them again for me, Gary?
Okay, it's bdoutdoors.com, westernoutdoornews.com, and Pacific Coast Sport Fishing. All of those run all of my reports, as well as Discover Baja and some others.
That's Gary Graham. He's the guru of the fishing scene in Baja. Check his articles out, and if you haven't already booked a flight down here, you better hurry. This opportunity's not going to last long. Gary, thanks again.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
It's time for the Trail of Shame.
Shame, shame on you. Shame, shame on you.
We've got a quick Trail of Shame story for you. The Nevada Department of Wildlife is offering a $10,000 reward to help nab the culprit who apparently dumped northern pike in Comans Lake, a popular fishing spot surrounded by mountains near Great Basin National Park. In announcing the reward, Nevada's chief game warden made it clear, we intend to find out who did it. This is not the first time that pike have been introduced in this lake, and they nearly destroyed this fishery before. if you have any information at all as to who's behind this, contact the Nevada Department of Fish and Wildlife, and let's put this bucket biologist on ice. And as for our unidentified culprit, you, sir, are walking our trail of shame this week.
Shame on you.
We've got to go, but if you get a chance, check out our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. You'll find a podcast of a recent show as well as information about what's coming up in the week ahead. You'll find information as well on our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio. Make sure you like that because we often include info that doesn't make it on the air. You can hear this show on WRVO Radio, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming, and we've got a YouTube channel too. Subscribe at Northwestern Outdoors. That's one word, and you'll be hearing this show and our sister show too. We've got to go, but here's hoping that God blesses you greatly in the week ahead. And if you haven't enjoyed a great adventure yet this summer, you better do it quick because there's not much of summer left. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors.